Tolerance to cold outreach. What the hell is that? Now, I'm gonna explain you in this short video, I hope, why is this important, why it directly impacts that you start making less money, and it's a very sad story for salespeople to tell that cold and outbound outreach doesn't work. Because the goal of this video is not to persuade you to do the cold outreach right now or anything like that. No, the goal of this video is just to explain you why I think that people that tell you that cold outreach doesn't work actually are making a mistake, and I wouldn't rather listen to them. I'm going to give you a few arguments, and it's okay if you have another opinion. If you think or you had experience in your past like that nothing really worked for you, this is okay. These things can happen. Cold outreach doesn't work all the time. But assuming that it never works is as mistakenly as well as somebody, as me telling you that that everyone should do cold outreach, because not everyone should do cold outreach. So I hear people telling me, Nikolai, I don't like cold DMing. I don't think that they work. Doing, unsolicited, Telegram DMs is very bad. It's very bad to start the sales process. It's very bad way to start conversation. That feels cringe, man. It's like so bad and blah blah. Once in my life, I ever sat on a dinner. It was a very nice dinner in a Michelin star restaurant. There was a bunch of people there, and a couple of marketers and head of BDs, they were discussing how bad cold DMing is and that it doesn't work and all these things and blah, blah, blah. And, I didn't disappoint them because I was sitting there, because I cold DM'd the organizers of that dinner one time in my past. And then what happened that they told me no, and then they told me no again when I cold DM'd them second time, and then I cold DM'd the third time, in the period of around like 6 to 8 months. And then on my third call DM, they finally replied with a yes. We went for a meeting and doing this blah 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 blah, and that's how I appeared at that meeting. So when they were telling me that the cold DMing doesn't work, I was sitting there eating that very nice dinner, and I was feeling that it's okay. Like I didn't tell them, I didn't want to make them feel bad or anything like this. But cold DMing does work. And I was like the live example why it works and what can happen if you actually go and you do that cold DM. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you sell. If you sell Web3, if you sell software, if you sell houses, if you sell, alligators, doesn't matter. Your job is building a pipeline of new people that don't have the thing that you are selling and getting them to buy the thing that you are selling. That's basically it. And this means that you need to go and knock on doors like in the old good times. Knocking on doors right now is going to be in the form of you sending somebody a cold DM. And guess what? There's going to be a percentage of people that going to open the door and they're going to tell you, fuck you. And they're going to close the door and they basically going to hope that they ruined your day. But that's actually okay, because that's the part of your job. And if you don't like it, change the job. That's it. If you tell me, Nikolai, yeah, it's actually, it's why do I have changed the job? I don't do any cold DMing, and look, I'm perfect. I hit my goals, I do this thing and all this stuff and blah blah, like, and I leave perfectly without doing any cold. Well, that's also very good. This means that you do other things well, for example, building referrals, or you have good marketing, or the market overall is good. But at the end of the day, if you started doing this cold outreach, you would just close more business because you already have a good, you already know how to do good referrals. Just you going and talking with people in cold would help you to maybe build more referrals sometime in the future, because maybe you are not going to be cold outreaching people to buy directly from you. Maybe you're going to be cold outreaching for people to become your referral partners or anything like that. The point is, if you don't do outbound, you will never reach out to the true potential. Because if you only rely on opportunities that are going to be coming to you or introductions on all the things, they finish. They are finite. And the amount of outbound prospects are infinite. If you're in big niche, if you're in a super small niche where there's like only 10 companies that can be potential your buyers, then guess what? It's not very good news for you as a salesperson. You're probably going to be struggling there as a good salesperson. So if somebody takes you out from that environment and puts you, let's say, in Salesforce, or in Google or in AWS, where you have a huge market and you need to go and like majority of your business is going to be in cold, then it's just going to be a different story for you. So you need to deal with that rejection, because, understand you or not, the moment when you start doing cold outreach, even if it doesn't lead to anything, you still get your amount of rejection. It's kind of like you pay to the sales god that is somewhere up there to help you close business. You may think that I'm crazy. You may say, even to Nikolai, this doesn't work like this, but it does. If you start doing cold outreach and you eat your portion of rejection, this makes you credible for making money. If you don't do this stuff, you're not really a salesperson. Salesperson's job is to go there, talk with people, have them agree to the stuff that they offer, get them to the call, and dealing with people, you eventually gonna encounter some bad stuff. So people that typically tell Nikolai cold DMing doesn't work, they either haven't really figured out how to do cold DMing in the right time, or for them specifically, it really doesn't work. Because, for example, let's say you are in a very hard niche or in a very hard market where you're basically competing face to face with all of your competitors, then going and outreaching people in cold DMs, it's gonna be a more harder thing for you than, for example, selling something that people really need or lack, or something that they don't have. So if somebody telling you that cold DMing doesn't work, it's either they don't know how to do it or it doesn't work in their specific case. But this doesn't mean that it's not going to work for you. If you're in a different niche, or like it's even one of your friends that's telling you that it doesn't work, it doesn't mean that it doesn't work. They either don't know how to do it, or they don't have the tools how to do it, or in their specific case, in their unique case, cold outbound is not going to work, because then, maybe they're selling something super important, like, I don't know, maybe they're like top medical seller, and their contract is going to be like in tens of millions of dollars, and there's only like five of those guys for the whole country, and you already been in business for 20 years. Of course they don't need to do any kind of cold outbound, because they already been in the space for so long. But even if you're a big Web3 company and you've been in space for the 5 years, and you claim that you already know everybody in the space, and then all this stuff, that's realistically not very true, because there's a lot of different new startups that pop up every day, that get funding every day. And yes, to a certain extent, you can get introduction to those startups through your VCs if you have a good VC network, and you can live off like that. But not getting your share of rejection will anyway have impact on your sales. Just getting the stuff makes you more credible for making more money in sales. I don't know how that works. That's just the rule of the nature. The point of this video was to explain to you that if you do cold outreach, it's good. If you don't do cold outreach, it's also okay. Like, nothing else. But whether you should be doing it or shouldn't be doing it depends on your goal. And the most important thing that you need to understand: if you are not doing cold prospecting, if you're not doing cold outreach, you are not really a salespeople. You're not really a salesperson. So it's not a replicable skill. If somebody takes out you from that niche, from that market, from that company, or whatever, and puts you in a different environment, you are gonna die there, or you're not gonna perform as well as you do. Because right now you are making the money, or you are living the life that you're living only because, for example, you have a big network of investors. So if having a replicable skill is important for you, for example, a sales skill, then you need to be able to do everything. It's kind of like having different tools in your tool stack. So if you don't know how to use a hammer, for example, which is going to be cold outreach, and we're not talking about free, for example, we're not even talking about cold calls, and we're just talking about cold DMs. And let's say you outreach 100 people, and then 10 people tell you fuck you. That's okay. If that thing bothers you, that's a problem. That's the real problem. It's not the problem that 10 people tell you fuck you, because there's going to be always people that are going to tell you fuck you. That's the problem, that you are intolerant for accepting that as a normal reply, and as it's inevitable thing for you to grow and build more pipeline. Because the more advanced you become, the less of fuck you in you're gonna get, but you're still gonna get them. Like, it's okay. Like, if you don't improve at your copywriting skills, let's say you land in an environment when you never have to do any kind of cold outbound, and then suddenly something changes. For example, you're fired from your job, or like the company closes, or whatever, for any reason, and you need to go and find a new job. You not having this important sales skill in your tool stack is going to be a massive thing that will prevent you from going and then performing consistently and performing well in a new company. So you would need to go and you would need to acquire a new skill from basically from zero. And this is going to be okay for somebody, but this can be a problem if you want to have a replicable business model, for example, in your skills, what you do, that if something bad happens, you can go somewhere else, replicate what you have been doing before, and these things will make you successful. And this is all of this channel is about: this doing things, building processes, not hoping for luck. I like luck, I utilize luck, I like all the sales karmas and energy tricks that I've been sharing with you. These things all works, but you not having the process or not having the hard skill that you need to have if you're working in sales and you want to do this for a long time is gonna determine if you're going to be successful or not, if you're going to be making more money or not, if your family is going to have consistent inflow of money and cash coming into your budget. And that's the most important thing. If you want to take a very good care of them, you need to be top, best of the best. So I'm wishing all of you to become best of the best. Do the cold outreach, anyway, even if not in your work environment. Train yourself, get the skill, make sure that you know how to do this stuff, because whatever happens, market changes, you're fired, blah, whatever, doesn't matter. You being able to go and cold outreach people will help you to find a new job and will help you to perform better at the new job, and maybe it will even help you perform better at your current job. For a majority of people of mine that I know, it's actually helped. So I'm wishing you all to get success, explore more videos, subscribe, and get value. I want you to get value, get better, make more money, stay more consistent. And then, once upon a time, just put a like for good old Nikolai, for sharing this information, putting it out there. If you listened up until this point, you're going to be successful, I guarantee to you, because you have the ability to learn and sit down and wait for 11 minutes to get to the juice and understand everything in full. And I'm really proud of you. Have a good one. See ya. Bye bye.